In this video, we'll talk about how to simplify radicals multiplied by an integer. So let's take a look at a few examples. In this first example, we have 2 times the square root of 12. So for now, we'll just ignore this 2 on the outside and we'll focus on the square root of 12. What we can do is a method known as prime factorization, and that's when we break down 12 into factors until only prime values are left. So for example, we could break this down into 4 times 3. 3 is a prime, so let's underline that. 4 can further be broken down into 2 times 2. And 2 is a prime, so we'll underline both of those. So we've performed prime factorization, and what we can do now is identify groups of 2 of the same number and pull those out of the radical. So notice that we have 2 2's right here. These can be pulled out of the radical and written as a single 2 right here. And the reason is, when we think about it, when we just did the square root of 12, we said this could be broken down into 2 times 2, or in other words, 2 squared times the square root of 3. So 2 squared is 4, the square root of 4 is 2. So what we're saying is this whole expression is just a 2 that can be pulled out to the outside of the radical. So that's what we just did there. But notice that this 3 right here is left inside the radical. So what we're left with is 2 times 2 times radical 3. And notice 2 times 2 on the outside, this can be further simplified to 4. So our final answer is just 4 times the square root of 3. That is how we can simplify this original expression of 2 times square root of 12. Okay, let's try another one. Let's say we have 4 times the square root of 40. Once again, we're just going to ignore this 4 on the outside for now. Let's focus on the 40. So we're going to perform prime factorization, where we break it down into factors until we're only left with prime numbers. So let's say we break it down into 20 and 2. 2 is a prime, so we'll underline that. 20 can be further broken down into 5 and 4. 5 is a prime, so we'll underline that. And 4 can be broken down into 2 times 2. So these are both primes. So there's our prime factorization. Now remember, we're looking for groups of 2 of the same number that we can pull out of the radical. So notice that here's 2 2's. So we can pull these out and make it a single 2 on the outside of the radical. So we'll be left with 2 times 4. Now notice this 5 and this 2, these can't be paired up with anything. So these have to stay under the radical. Or in other words, 5 times 2. So we're left with, on the outside we have 2 times 4. And on the inside we have 5 times 2, that's 10. So we can simplify this by saying 2 times 4 is 8. So we'll be left with 8 times the square root of 10. And that is our final answer. All right, let's try one more example. Let's say we have 7 times the square root of 25. Well, before we get too far, just recognize that the square root of 25 is 5. So this whole expression right here is actually just 5. So 7 times 5 is just 35. So that's our final answer. So keep that in mind when simplifying radicals. If the radical itself is just some whole number or an integer, just go ahead and convert that to the integer, like we did in this example.